In this lesson, we're going to build out a contact form within Bootstrap. So we already have a layout for a bunch of products here, and we also have maybe the About section here. So we're going to do the same thing that we did in the products section for the About Me, and we're going to output. So we're going to update this and change this to About, so that's better structured for Bootstrap, and then we've got to have bunch of information about the user. So let's just quickly fill that out, and then we can get to the actual contact form. So maybe there's a bunch of paragraphs here and some additional text. So select copy to clipboard, and let's bring that into the About Me. Actually, I shouldn't put paragraphs within paragraphs there. So now when we go out to our default site, so I refresh it. So if I go up to About, I do have some content there that's being presented. I've got my home, I've got my introduction. So maybe we can also format this and present it a little bit better using Bootstrap as well. In Bootstrap, they have panels and wells, but they've actually moved some of that out. So maybe what we need to do is actually be more specific about this content here, so we can apply our own styling here. So I'm going to just select the About, and I'm going to select any paragraphs that are in with the About. I'm going to add in some padding there. So that just so it presents a little bit better there. So refresh that. So now we've got some padding, and maybe even about that whole section that we want to have some padding around it as well. So we've got padding at the top, and maybe we want to have padding so padding, I'm going to do 10 pixels all the way around. So let's see how this looks. So now we've got our padding, but we need to add in some padding at the top as well. So maybe we need to actually specify that we want to do 10 pixels, 80 pixels, we want to do maybe 10 like that, and the bottom is 0 pixels. And get rid of that padding top. So we'll do the shortcut for the padding, so we end up with the top and the left and the right each having 10. So that brings that text in a little bit better. Over to the form. And on their website, Get Bootstrap, they have a really nice formatted form. We can see here that we open up and close form, and we've got form group. So this gives us the ability to group content together, nicely present it. We can also do inline forms, so different form classes that are available. So this type of stuff is good for login and so on. So we can do a typical horizontal form as well. So let's start by building out a nice typical horizontal form, and maybe this can be a contact here. So we're going to have to update some of this to first name, last name, the fields. So I'm going to just simply take out that form horizontal, go down to our form section, or the contact section, and actually I should format this the same way that we did this over here, so that we're consistent with our formatting of our Bootstrap. So this container here would have the contents, so row, and that would be contact, and then we would create another row here. So I gotta add in a div, and then within here is where we can specify our class. So we need to add in, you guessed it, another div, and this is where we would specify what we want it to look like. So maybe we want it to be 6 across, so saving that, and now we can add in our form. So this is where our form would sit, so open and closing, and this form is going to use class form horizontal, and then from here we can build out the rest of the form information. So you can see here that each one is grouped within a class here. So we've got these form groups. So these give us the ability to create different form groups, and then each form group has a label and then another div that holds that input. So and this is where we could have our input group and so on. So maybe what I'm going to do, just to save time, I can copy that out and save that, and then I can update this form information. So we've got our form group. We're going to label it. So a class is call span 2. So we'll do first name, and then this class is going to be 10. So we can see that it's going to have our first name with the label, and then the next column is going to be the longer one that's going to be having our input form. So this is going to be type. So this is just going to be regular text, class control, form control, and the ID that we're going to use here is going to be the same as the label. So first name and placeholder. And so maybe we just do 12 all the way across as well. So each and every field, I know it looks like there's quite a lot of information here, but again, this is that Bootstrap structuring where we like to keep things as consistent as possible, and it does unfortunately turn out to be a lot of divs and spans that we need to use, but this is just the way it is with Bootstrap. And when you're defining with your HTML, we notice that there hasn't been a lot of CSS that we've had to do, and that's because a lot of it is already handled within Bootstrap. So we see that now we've got our contact, and so there's different ways to lay this out as well, so depending on how we want to present it. So maybe we want to have some additional fields, so maybe we do even want to have an email field. So maybe I can copy this one out and have email, and so on. So go back out to our form, and then lastly we just need to have a button. And notice how this is being presented here, that we've got a column COL, so the column SM2. So that means that when we shrink it all the way down, that these columns, because they're not excess, they're not extra small, that they actually do stack on that small screen size. So and again, it gets really nicely presented for the user. We're still missing one last thing within the form, so every form actually needs a button. And notice here that we're keeping it out of the default, so we're not applying that form group. So again, this is depending on how you want to present your content, but we can simply add in that button and type equals. So there's a submit button and class. So do you remember how we do the buttons in Bootstrap, how we can style something to make it look like a Bootstrap button? So we just do the BTN, and then we can have some BTN styling, additional styling. So this will just be submit. And save that, and now we can go back out to our project and take a look at that. And this is our contact form. So whenever we press contact, we see that we're presented with the contact form, and we go to products, we've got our products, about, we've got our about, home. So this is where we can have some additional information, and then this part just links to the about section. So in the home, we're going to be finishing that up in the next lesson, and then adding in some additional options to make the website more user friendly. So that's all coming up in the next set of lessons.